who tried to steal their motorbikes. And I cannot emphasize enough how much the Western justice system is meant to benefit criminals and meant to punish the average innocent civilian in order to keep them in a fearful state for the entirety of their lives, in order to foster an authoritarian state. And so that's exactly what we're going to read in this article and provide commentary on, because this is just shocking. The fact that these brothers were not allowed to defend their property, which was under the threat of theft, that these people were scared away before, and they came back and did it again. So they clearly did not care about the repercussions of their actions, and these brothers tried to defend their property, and they were punished for it. So let's see. It says Christopher Norris, age 45, and his brother, age 42, Colin, were spending the evening together at Colin's house when they noticed a group of men outside lurking near their motorcycles. Christopher and Colin Norris were given over 40 years in prison on Wednesday. They shot at robbers who tried to taking their motorcycles and hit one in the arm. Police said they had acted recklessly and took justice into their own hands. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. In the Western world, the law enforcement officers are there to suppress justice from being done. Okay. So the article states, two brothers have been put behind bars for a total of 40 years after they ambushed and fired a gun at men who tried to steal their motorbikes in an extremely reckless attack. Okay, so is it really an ambush if you're like, if it's your own property and you're allowed to defend it? Like, it's not like they set these people up. It was their property. It was placed where it was supposed to be placed, and people came to steal it, and they defended their property. Christopher Norris, 45, and his brother were spending an evening together, and they noticed a group of men lurking near their motorcycles. They were eventually disturbed by a resident and fled empty-handed. However, when two of them returned later that same evening, the brothers were lying in wait armed with guns. Christopher Norris opened fire, shooting one of the men in the arm and forcing them to flee. Christopher Norris was sentenced to 30 years imprisonment on Wednesday, while his brother Colin was slapped with a 14-year sentence. Detective Superintendent Gavin Moss of the Kent and Essex Serious Crime Directorate said these two men decided to arm themselves with firearms after somebody sought to steal their motorbikes. Okay, yes. This is what I'm talking about, where good people are trying to stop crime, and law enforcement is there to stop the good people, not to stop the crime. Okay, this is exactly what's happening. And when we get to the comment section, I didn't read the entire article in order to provide you kind of a first reaction, but I did scroll down to the comment section, and it was very, very pro these two brothers, because it's really ridiculous that if you are an innocent person defending yourself and your property, you are harassed and sentenced to jail by law enforcement officers. Okay, so they have these mugshots here where they're just trying to humiliate the two brothers who did nothing but defend their property. So again, I would emphasize this over and over and over again, that law enforcement in the Western world is there to suppress innocence and in order to support criminals. So the article goes on to say this was extremely reckless, and when one of them discharged his weapon in a residential area, it is only by chance that a member of the public unconnected with the incident did not suffer a fatal injury. So again, more ridiculousness, because one, they were defending their property, which should be allowed. It's apparently not allowed in the United Kingdom and in other parts of the Western world, but it should be allowed. And two, quite frequently, law enforcement officers are also doing things like this. They're shooting, and other people potentially are in harm's way because of that. So I don't really see the problem with this. The incident took place March 8th, 2020 in a communal car park on Cooper Close in Greenhithe, Kent. During the evening, a group of people were seen trying to steal some motorbikes before fleeing empty-handed when they were disturbed by a resident. However, two of them returned, and the brothers were waiting for them. The brothers had armed themselves, shot at the two men who ran away from the area. The brothers then left in separate vehicles and traveled to Christopher Norris's home in London. Okay, so not only did they scare away these criminals, but they didn't even pursue them. So like, they weren't out for blood. They were just trying to defend their property. So the article goes on to say residents who had heard the sound of the gunshots called the police, and patrols went to the Cooper Close. Officers were also alerted when a man with a bullet injury to his arm arrived in Darren Valley Hospital in Dartford, Kent. An investigation was launched and officers recovered 6 9mm caliber and 9.4-inch caliber ammunition casings at the scene. 2 vehicles and car park had also been damaged by the shots. Residents who had heard the sounds of the gunshot called the police. Yeah, they talked about that. All right, so they're just trying to humiliate the brothers here with a ton of pictures, accusing them of stuff. When the brothers returned to Greenhithe while officers were still completing their inquiries, they were arrested. Search of Christopher Norris's address in Penge, London, and of Colin Norris's house in Cooper Close led to the seizure of firearm accessories. Okay, so far they haven't said the firearms were illegal in any way, shape, or form. So it sounds like they were legally allowed to have them. In addition, a spent .4-inch caliber cartridge, a lock knife, and a taser were recovered from the 2 cars the brothers had used after the incident. Forensic examination of the vehicles located gunshot residue and a spent ammunition casing which had traces of Colin Norris's DNA on it. Detectives later recovered a handgun used in the shooting, which had been discarded under a car in Penge. Additionally, CCTV footage from Cooper Close was examined by detectives and showed the brothers exiting Colin Norris's address immediately before the shots were fired. Oh, wait a minute. This contradicts what they were saying earlier. Wow. Oh, this definitely okay, so not only is law enforcement against the average person, against innocents and protecting criminals here, but the media here essentially lied about what happened. Because this entire article is framing it as these brothers are evil. They sat around waiting to ambush people trying to steal their whatever it was, motorcycle or whatever. And what little did they know, they contradicted themselves in the article. They said the brothers exited the address before the shots were fired. Okay, so they weren't lying in wait. They were hanging out inside. Like, they weren't like in bushes somewhere next to the motorcycle, just like, oh, I can't wait to shoot these people. They were literally inside just like hanging out. They saw the people come back who were trying to steal their motorcycle, and they went out and shot at them to defend their property. So law enforcement is defending criminals and harassing innocents, and the media is covering for them by making up stories about lying in wait and ambush. And this should upset you as much as it upsets me. The brothers were also forensically connected to the bullet casings recovered at the scene. Both men were charged with attempted murder on March 12th, 2020. They pleaded not guilty at Maidstone Crown Court, and on Thursday, 28th of July, 2022, Christopher Norris was convicted of attempted murder and possession of a prohibited weapon. Okay, so at least that part. So he was not technically allowed to have that weapon. I, on a personal level, believe that you should be allowed to have weapons to defend yourself, but that part, I at least understand if it was technically illegal to have that firearm there. Investigators taped off the scene in Cooper Close, Greenhithe. While Colin Norris was cleared of attempted murder, he was convicted of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. Okay, so this doesn't say it was illegal. It doesn't say he had an illegal weapon here. So I'm not sure. Maybe the one brother was allowed to have the weapon and the other brother was not allowed to have a weapon. I don't know how that works, but they say possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. Okay, so both men were sentenced at Maidstone Crown Court on Wednesday. Christopher Norris was jailed for a total of 30 years of imprisonment, and his brother Colin was jailed for 14 years. Both men will have to serve 2/3 of their jail terms before they are eligible for parole, after which they will be required to complete a further 4 years on license. Okay, so 30 years, 2/3 of that, he has to spend 20 years in jail for defending his property. That should concern you. That should really, really, really concern you. That is where we're at now. That they're going to spend that long in jail for defending their property. It doesn't allow you to see the comments on here whenever it's on dark screen, dark mode, but that's fine. Essentially, if you want to go back and look at the comments were overwhelmingly positive for the brothers, thinking it's ridiculous. And the weird thing is, they don't even talk about the actual criminals here. They talk about the brothers getting a 40-year combined sentence for defending their property. But the people who were actually committing the crime and stealing the motorcycle, they don't talk about them being punished whatsoever for it. So just think about this for a second. When you think about the criminal justice system, law enforcement, the entire Western civilization, the people in the comments, the average person, thinks this is ridiculous. For some reason, This is our criminal justice system, despite the overwhelming majority of people disagreeing with the criminal justice system being like this. So why is it like this? It's because the oligarchs want the criminals there. They want the criminals to harass the average person so that the average person wants more authoritarian, a more authoritarian government, and they want the people to be frightened by criminals and that are lower level, petty criminals, instead of the criminals who are in charge of the country, which are the oligarchs. And so that's why this is allowed to happen. It has nothing to do with a democracy. If we voted on it, the overwhelming majority of people would think this is ridiculous and would want to have the criminals be punished and not the people defending their property. But that is how it is across the entire West. You live in the matrix. You live in a system that doesn't actually defend you. It doesn't actually defend innocence. It doesn't punish criminals. It does this. It does this that people don't agree with. Okay, and it's just shocking. It's just ridiculous. 20 years for defending your property, and they don't even talk about the people who are actually committing the theft being punished. And that's the thing is, if you run through this scenario in your head, who is ultimately responsible for this? It is the people who are trying to break the law and steal someone's motorcycle. Okay. And the article doesn't even talk about them. It doesn't talk about any repercussions that they face for their actions. It only talks about the brothers defending their property. So at face value, this should concern you, that this is the system we find ourselves in. It's not a slippery slope anymore. It's just a logical causal chain here that led us to this situation where the system is the inversion of what is all good and what is just and what is true in the world. This is a horrendous system. And as you can see, I'm not thrilled to think about this, but it's like they put up all these pictures of these guys to kind of humiliate them, shame them for defending their property. But all it does is make me sad and upset that innocents were put in jail and criminals were let to run free. And that is the criminal justice system in the West. So if you found this video to be informative, helpful, interesting, anything like that, please do give us a thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm. Subscribe to our channel for more content on YouTube and Rumble. Tell a friend about our channel. We are being suppressed, and so word of mouth does help us. If you think it might be a channel that they're interested in, we would love to have them here. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, please leave us a comment in the comment box below. I do read all of them, and I do respond when necessary. I appreciate all the interest, everything like that. I just to show you, we are making progress on this channel. I just got done with an intro, and I have one iteration of an outro done. So we're gonna have some standardized intros and outros from now on. So this channel is improving, it's progressing, and thank you for sticking with us throughout all of that. So thank you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.